Opened on New Year's Day 1921, the glamorous Ambassador Hotel was a Hollywood landmark, regular home of the Academy Awards, and the site of the famed Coconut Grove nightclub. But on the 5th of June 1968, it became famous for a more notorious event, the assassination of Robert Francis Kennedy, as he walked through the kitchens, shortly after claiming victory in the Californian Democratic primary election, a significant step on his way to the presidency. Bobby Kennedy, shot 3 times, died the next day at the Good Samaritan Hospital. Sirhan Bishara Sirhan, a Palestinian immigrant, was arrested for the shooting, in which 5 other people were injured. He remains in prison to this day. Recent evidence has come to light, though, that points to a second shooter, as at least 10 shots were fired, and Sirhan's gun was an 8-shot .22 caliber revolver. Also, powder burns on Kennedy's ear and residue in his hair suggested that Sirhan wasn't close enough to have fired the fatal shot. Then there was the unexplained presence of several CIA operatives, including David Sanchez Morales, known for his anger at the Kennedys for what he saw as their betrayal during the Bay of Pigs invasion. Kennedy's death was a huge shock for a nation that was still grieving from the assassination of his brother, John F. Kennedy, just over 4 years earlier. Having resigned as Attorney General in 1964, Bobby Kennedy was the senator for New York at the time of his death, and in early 1968, he had announced that he was running for president. With a commitment to racial and economic justice, non-aggressive foreign policy, and decentralization of power, Robert Kennedy was considered to be even more progressive than JFK. He was close to Martin Luther King, and his impromptu speech in Indianapolis following King's murder is often credited as the reason that that city escaped the riots that broke out elsewhere. Despite his renewed commitment to political change after JFK's death, Kennedy was said to be a changed man, personally devastated by the tragedy. In 1965, he was in the party that made the first ascent of the 4,300-meter Mount Kennedy, a peak named in his brother's honor in Yukon, Canada. Bobby's funeral was at St. Patrick's Cathedral in New York City, where he was eulogized by his brother Senator Ted Kennedy, who adapted a George Bernard Shaw quote saying, "Some men see things as they are and say why. I dream things that never were and say, why not?" After the funeral mass, Kennedy's body was taken by a special train to Washington, D.C., passing by thousands of mourners lining the tracks. The only person ever buried there at night, he was interred at Arlington National Cemetery, next to JFK. Close as they were in life, it seemed only fitting that they should remain that way in death. The English electric Canberra was a jet-powered light bomber constructed in large numbers throughout the 1950s. It was used for reconnaissance, weather study, and as a tactical bomber. It was originally designed in the mid-1940s as a replacement for the de Havilland Mosquito bomber, although the prototype didn't take to the skies until May 1949. They were used by the UK's RAF right up until 2006. On the 3rd of May 1977, a 2-man Canberra was returning to its base at RAF WYTON, near the town of Huntington in Cambridgeshire, England. Around 12:15 p.m, just as the local schoolchildren at Sapley Park Primary School were preparing to walk home for lunch, the Canberra's engine stopped. It later transpired that the pilot was practicing what to do in the event of an engine failure, but something went wrong. The plane nosedived straight towards the school, but the pilot held fast, struggling to miss it and the surrounding houses. He was successful, but as the plane crashed to the ground, with its wing resting against houses in Norfolk Road on the Oxmoor estate, its fuel sprayed out and ignited. The resulting fireball engulfed a terrace of 7 homes. 5 people were killed, the pilot, his navigator, and 3 children. It soon became clear, however, that if the pilot had ejected to save himself, the outcome could have been much, much worse.